Good afternoon, participants. Welcome to this session on process-based teaching, learning, and higher thinking skills. Now, my request to each one of you will be kindly ask as many questions as you can ask, and we know that it will be after. You can stop me whenever you like. You can make queries, make comments, because interactive lecture is always much more useful than monologue lecture. So with this, so let us start. So what is the expected outcome of this session? See, what is the project-based learning approach and what are the salient features? What is difference between traditional doing project and PBLA? I'll be using the abbreviation PBLA. How can PBLA be implemented, its limitations and requirements? How students and teachers can be benefited by deploying PBLA? How to deploy PBLA in the classroom teaching? How PBLA can help to develop higher thinking skills among students? And fostering 21st century school in the classroom teaching. When we are teaching, how can it be done? Then also, you pose a question, why should I use product-based learning? I'll try to answer these questions. What is the primary role for the teacher in a PBL classroom? How does project-based learning differ from problem-based learning? You must have heard about problem-based learning also. I do projects in my class. We do projects in my class. Does that mean I am doing PBL? So we are, see, projects are a part of practically all professional courses. Now, is that doing what product-based learning is? I'll answer this question. How can I effectively monitor the many product groups engaged in a PBL? For example, you have a class of, let us say, 30 or 40, and you have PBL mode of teaching. How is it possible for a single teacher to monitor it? How can I increase learning outcomes of students? How can using PBL approach can help us to enhance student thinking skills? How can I use PBL to increase higher order thinking and research skills and their use by the students? There is no individual accountability in group learning as advocated in PBL. How is it so? Now, when students are working in a group, then it becomes quite challenging and difficult to look for the accountability, to look for these things. So these are the challenges which are there, and we will see how one can handle it during these course of sessions. Now, if we look at our present engineering curricula, here programs are content driven and do not provide enough design experience to students. See, we are very good, our students are good, our faculty is good, but our teaching is a textbook teaching. See, what are the contents given in the textbook? We teach them. Now, beyond that, we are not able to do it. There are constraints, maybe time, maybe resources, but that is a fact. Engineering curricula too focus on engineering science and technical courses without providing enough integration of these topics or relating them to real life or industrial experience. See, our engineering curricula is a lot of theoretical oriented. We do have labs, we do internships, but the purpose of those is very is such that students are able to learn or verify only about the discipline. Then graduate lack thinking skills. These training doesn't help the student to develop higher thinking skills or communication skills, teamwork experience. They gain it, but how much we are not able to assess in the present system. The existing teaching and learning strategies or culture engineering program is outdated and need to become more student-centric. And you are all now getting familiar. See, the traditional teaching learning is a teacher-centric. Teacher controls everything. But now there is a tremendous emphasis on student-oriented learning or through the outcome-based education system. Programs do not create awareness among students of the social environmental economic and legal issues that are part of the reality of modern engineering practice. Existing faculty lack practical experience. Our teachers are good in theory, but when it comes to lab practical, they lack. They need a lot of input. Hence, are not able to adequately relate theory to practice or provide design experiences. Present promotion systems reward research activity and not practical experience or research expertise. So, but what is the emerging scenario? This is what we have been, doing in our engineering colleges, in our institutions, and so on. Now, the emerging scenario is so that this world is changing very fast. New knowledge is being generated. There are new challenges every day, and producing more of the doing same thing again and again as we are doing is not enough to address the challenges which are emerging before us. For example, everyone is familiar with the AI applications. Everyone is familiar with chatbots. Everyone is familiar with Chat GPT and now the bread. Similarly, a generation ago, teacher could expect that what they taught would last their students a lifetime. You remember about 20, 15 years back, see, we were always given the impression what we have learned will be useful for us. Today, because of rapid economic and social change, institutes have to prepare students for jobs that have not been yet created, technologies that do not yet have been invented, and problems that we don't yet know will arise. That is the kind of emerging scenario that we are observing. So technology improving and businesses are expanding at an exponential rate. A study from Psychology Today found that it's the present day young people, netizens, workers, switch jobs every about 4.5 years on the average. That they change their jobs. And most of you must also be familiar that youngsters they change the job very frequently. Now, because they always look for opportunities. Now, looking for more opportunities mean new responsibilities. Now, then modern day problems are highly complex and demand a variety of skills for their solution. What we have been teaching in the textbooks that may not be very helpful. That may not be very helpful to solve the complex problems. Say complex problem are the, for example, design of a high-rise building or design of a smart hotel or smart campus. These are the highly complex. A person, an engineer with a training of a very traditional type of training will not be able to handle it. Then employers emphasize that our graduates be adept at these skills and we solve complex real problems. What are the skills that they expect? They expect social skill and responsibilities. They expect cultural skills. They expect leadership skills, lifelong learning, and so on. And look at the way the demand is being put on the learners to do or learn these skills. Now, these skills we are not able to the traditional system have not been able to equip our students with these skills. So there are students who are very bright, they may learn by themselves, but as far as our curricula goes, as far as our delivery goes, we are lacking in that sense. So how do we do these things? Because the real complex problem that I have just mentioned, they involve not one discipline. They may involve, they are interdisciplinary. They do not follow the same traditional the known methods, unknown methods. And so real life problems, they have deep knowledge, they are interdisciplinary, the multidimensionally, and there is no obvious solution. So the difficulty involves so many. If that is the case, how will the students solve that? How will we develop our economy? How will we develop our society? Just to give you a feeling, the coming up of the complex problems are like say self-driven cars, human values, child bringing up. See, bringing up first child, using all the techniques, all the methods, are those methods are not applicable to bring up the second child or third child. So look at the complexity. Blockchain. labor conflict resolution, Internet of Things. So this is the kind of scenario. They are so complex, they are so multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, unknown situations, and so on. So in order to be able to do all this, because the coming time is like this, so what kind of education, what kind of instructional methods, what kind of training we should impart to our students? Because traditional style of teaching and training is not helping us to solve these problems. So education and training required to solve real life problems is good relevant knowledge of the discipline, higher level thinking skills, that is critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and so on. Skills to understand the complexity of the problem, situation, issue. How to see so let's take the case of smart campus. The smart campus, there are so many variables, there are so many constraints. So understanding all that becomes a big challenge. Now, many times we need to have an appropriate attitude and patience to appreciate the intricacies of the problem. Mindset of not leaving things in between. Mindset to learn, unlearn, and learn. That means what we had learned all our life may not be relevant in many situations. Human skill to main any other. So please appreciate the kind of skills are required to solve the modern day real life complex problems. Now we are to do it. How to do this thing? Now, in order to do this thing, we need to look at alternative method of learning. And the alternative method of learning is through projects. You can ask a question: what is the difference in project and project-based learning? Project is a range of activities. You are doing projects. Your students are doing projects. But what I'm going to emphasize is when I do a project X, what is the learning? When I do the project Y, what is the learning? So it is the issue of reorienting our instructional methods so that student learns not only about the discipline while doing a project, but he imbibes the 21st century skills also. So learning from the project activities performed, learnings, they are what I do expect my student to learn from it. So project-based teaching learning is an instructional method. Please appreciate this thing, in which students get an opportunity to develop knowledge and skills by engaging themselves in real life problems which they come across or may face in the world. That means real life and real world problems are always multidisciplinary and complex and open ended. Open ended means there is no unique solution. There may be solutions, varying solutions. Project based learning or PBL is not just doing the projects, please appreciate this thing, but refer to the learning acquired by doing the project and then assessment. So PBLA is a student-centric approach in which we implement the principles of outcome-based education, then the orientation of assessment, the orientation of acquiring knowledge gets little redefined in terms of emphasis on the students. Now, research proves that use of PB, project-based teaching learning approach, instructional method, increases student motivation and engagement in learning. That is, when a student is given an assignment where comes from the real life. As I give you example, let us say the student is asked to develop a smart camera, or student is asked to develop a smart attendance system. So in that case, this is not given any textbook. This is not known even to the teacher. This may not be known. But when a student is interested in that, gets motivated, his learning is enhanced. So research proves that is an effective method in increasing the learning of the student. And the student, whatever he learns, retain the knowledge over a period of time, and also develops his real life thinking skills. is especially effective with average and lower achieving students. See, bright students are bright because nature has given them a good brain, a good thinking, and so on. But there are students, average students, there are students who are low achieving students. When those kind of students are given something with their hands, they learn better. So, in fact, students who receive a blend of teacher-directed and inquiry-based instruction, that is project-based learning, they achieve the best outcomes. This was a study carried out of McKinsey way back, or 6, 7 years back. So project-based learning says, do things with your own hand. Right. Do things, but what is the learning? That's important. See, learning, acquiring, learning while doing things. So you also are familiar with this. The old saying, if you tell me, I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I will learn. So learning by when I am doing, made to do things with my own hands, with my own efforts. So why do we do so? How can this be done? So this can be done if I know what are the learning outcomes of a program. Now, please, what is the learning outcome? I'm sure you all appreciate what is learning outcome. See, outcomes in the context of education learning outcome, the outcome implies knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. That means a student will be learning, not only gaining knowledge, but he will be developing skills also. He will be learning how to have a positive mindset. He will be learning how to carry out manual activities also. He will be learning how to behave in the society, that is as a team player. So please appreciate the project-based learning outcome. Project-based learning is a technique of implementing outcome-based education framework. And outcome-based education framework says we should know about the we should be know about the intended learning outcomes. See, when I say a project, now people go and work in the lab also. That the experiment they do, you can say it's a very very small project because it involves activities, it involves doing something, it involves about exploring something, verifying something. Now they verify the knowledge, what they have learned in the class. We never assess in the lab what is the skill that student has acquired. Please appreciate the skill that student has acquired. We don't judge that in the lab. Even if you ask the student in the lab, what are you doing? Let us say if I go and ask the student, suppose he is working on a determining a wavelength by Newton's rings. See, what are you doing? Newton rings. Is Newton ring the experiment? It's the name of the experiment. The experiment is to determine the wavelength of sodium light using Newton's method, Newton ring method. Students are not able to express properly what they are doing. Now let me pose a question. What is the learning outcome of the Newton ring experiment? Knowledge is all right. He will determine the wavelength. He will also know about the interference. Yes, but what much more than that? What are his psychomotor skills he learns? What are the other similarly the torsion bundle or the compound bundle? I'm so citing those examples with which each one of you is familiar. What are the learning? Please appreciate. Learning is in terms of knowledge. I'm repeating. Learning in terms of knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. Similarly, every project that a student does, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, or 2 months, whatever, should be such that it should have learnings which student will acquire in addition to his doing the knowledge-based life things. So now, please appreciate that you should know what are the learning outcomes, and learning outcomes are the intended outcomes. What are the learning outcomes that a student should do, should acquire when doing the projects? I have listed many of these. So, knowledge, ability to analyze, thinking, understanding, creativity, innovation, learning from failure. All these things are learned from the projects. Depending on nature of project, if it's experimental project, or it is a theoretical project, or a theory come experimental project, or it is a survey, whatever it is. So always please appreciate the learning outcome of the project. Now, when I say project-based learning, it means those learnings, like say critical thinking, or let us say team working. These learning student will acquire from that by doing that particular project. So that's what the project be. These skills, these attitudes are acquired by the student by doing those projects. Now there has been a lot of misunderstanding that student does a project and that is project-based learning. No, you decide beforehand intended learning what the student should expect by spending 3 weeks or 4 weeks of doing something with his own hands and then ascertain whether those learnings have been acquired or not. Now, here I will list it just as a sample to make you to realize that the project we must have the learning of the project stated beforehand in addition to the knowledge, right? So this point keep in mind. Why should we do it? The reason being, see, human learning is a student or a human being learns not only from the classroom lectures, he learns by his self efforts also. He learns from his environment, from his colleagues. So human learning has three, origins: instructional classroom teaching, his own efforts, and what he learns from the environment and these things. Now, studies have been carried out that when a student in the lecture, his retention rate is only 5%. This is a traditional method of teaching. It's a passive method. When he reads himself, studies himself, he retains around 10%. When he looks at the pictures, videos, he retains about 20%. And when you look at the demonstration being done, what we do in the lab, maybe chemistry lab, physics lab, computer lab, mechanical engineering lab, he retains about 30%. If topics are discussed in a group, he retains about 50%. And if he is made to do things to acquire that thing, he retains about 75%. And if he person is made to teach others or use particularly, he retains about 90%. So we see that these are the extensive studies in the education and psychology that student learning is maximum when he is actively involved in doing things himself or herself. Now, our traditional method have been emphasizing, lectures, reading, demonstration, and so on. That is one of the reasons why our students are not able to take up challenging assignments which needs higher level of thinking, which needs complex solutions, which are multidisciplinary, and so on. The reason I'm saying this thing because with the PBLA, project-based learning instructional method is the instructional method for which there is a strong theoretical idea. Now, a project consists of a related and coordinated a series of activities or tasks performed to realize a goal. Now, the issue is project may be structured or unstructured. You do the structured project you are doing every day in the class. They have expected outcomes, they have solutions and techniques of solving them. See, when the student do in the lab or you give them a project which has already been done or whose solutions are known beforehand, they are categorized as structured projects. Now, unstructured projects are open-ended, have no predictable or prescribed solution. Now, please, complex problems. Unstructured project are open-ended, solution नहीं है. Unstructured project require student to consider assumptions and constraints as well as to frame the project they are trying to solve in a different way, in a newer way, in a modified way. So unstructured projects require students to do their own structuring of the project. That means putting in the proper format. For example, maybe planning, maybe design, maybe other activities. Finding a solution, that is student are to do it. Please appreciate this thing. When a student is given a responsibility to carry out a project which involves planning, which involve finding resources, which involve doing the projects. Maybe the project may be done by a single student or by combined giant student, 2, 3, 4, 5. It all depends upon the type of the project that the instructor or teacher want to give them. Here, the challenge is student is learning these things by himself or herself. So research suggests that students learn more from working on unstructured projects than they do on structured ones. आप जानते हैं, just to give you example, supposing you give them a torsion problem, everything is defined. Student will go, will carry out the set process, and then the experiment is done. I have verified all the parameters. Now what is the learning? He has only verified it. When I say learning, it means he has to explore things which were not known to the student and he'll acquire it now. So unstructured, real life project, they're unstructured, and PBLA is best suited, and PBLA is meant, or learning is to be applied to these projects. Students learn these things. Their answer projects are complex and interdisciplinary. They require creative and problem-solving skills. They are student-oriented, involve self-directed learning, out-of-box thinking, and how to learn. So PBLA, to do these things, PBLA is the most appropriate method of doing it. Now please see here, आप पूछेंगे सर PBLA क्या होता है? PBLA is a instructional method. जैसे एक lecture is a instructional method, lab is an instructional method. PBL is a instructional method where student learns what he is required to learn by taking a real life project. Now this real life project is to be given, is to be decided by the teacher, keeping in view what the teacher expects the student to learn in terms of knowledge, in terms of skill, in terms of attitude and behavior or value system, and in terms of other parameters to enhance his learning. So let me give you an example of an unstructured project. See, you are sitting on your system. Now, if I say, I ask the student to design a prototype for holding video conferencing. This is a project which students have to do it. Now, in doing this project, you will appreciate if I would design a video conferencing is mainly used for meetings, lectures, and tutorials. To achieve a successful video conference, user need to be familiar and confident using the medium and encourage interactive environment. That is, the solution must be user-friendly, follow specifications as given below. That means screen layout, camera positions, choose a camera, microphone, lecture theater, setup, and presentation. Now, please see here, this is a project which is not given any textbook. It's a project which requires the understanding of those, not one component. Look at the various components, microphone, camera, and so on. It requires the understanding of the environment. It requires the understanding of the placement. It requires, because it's interactive, and so on. So in this is an example of a project where student has to become familiar. Let us say you give it to 3 students or 4 students. Now each of the students have to become familiar with these. Now once he becomes familiar, then his learning will be much more wide, much more deeper, because he has to explore these things. Even teacher may not know these things. Teacher know broad parameters, right? So this is an example where student can be put in a position to learn many new things. I said, now, what is the role of a teacher here? Teacher will only give him the general outline. Example, student may say, your screen layout should be of the following type. This is what the teacher role comes. Teacher role comes screen layout, make it like this. Then picture in a picture, include this also. Then camera control, camera give the control to the lecturer, presentation, proper microphoning position. This is what you are doing now also while sitting here. I purposely took the example to illustrate that we are doing video conferencing. To do this thing, what are the various aspects involved? What are the, for example, the student,
यार मेरे को फोटो पा जाए तो तुम दिखाऊं
दिखा
and please any difficulty? Please any question?
कॉपी यार पानी पाते मतलब दिखाऊं
हेलो
Any question? Any difficulty? See, this I'm saying.
मत निकाल ले बालक कौन खाओगे
This is what I'm saying. The teacher has to.
अरे उरा सोम दे किससे
कितना तुम
I request Vikas sir to kindly mute yourself. The session is getting disturbed. Yes, Grover sir, please continue.
Now, please appreciate here, these specifications which I am giving you is, the teacher has given these broad guidelines to the student. Let's say a group of 4 students. Teacher had said, I want to set up I want you to set up a video conferencing project, do a video conferencing project with these broad specifications. Please see, these are broad specifications. That means student has been provided certain hints. Teacher acted as a mentor. Teacher only facilitated of what is to be done. Now say what cameras to be choose, what should be the screen divisions, placements, all these things. In order for the best performance, student has to decide by themselves. So here is an example where the students are only guided, students are only facilitated and assigned a project of video conferencing and given broad guidelines, specification. Then it is the responsible student to do the interfacing, it is responsible student to choose the camera. Nothing is given by the camera. It is responsible student to learn these things. So this is empowering the student to explore things by himself or herself. And then be able to come with a solution. So project-based learning says he has learned here many things. He has learned about the environment. He has learned as a team player. He has learned to explore new things. He has learned to find out what is the best camera. He has learned to find out what is the best position. He has so many things he has learned by himself, because neither teacher knows, neither is given any textbook. So this is what student learning is. So working on the prototype video conference project, what the student learns require teacher guidance and team collaboration. Includes may need to know on the part of student and teachers, is complex and takes time to plan and implement. Teacher work occurs mainly before the project starts. The student makes most of the choices during the project within the predefined specifications I mentioned. Teachers are often surprised and delighted with the student choices. Teacher ने सिर्फ hint दिया, students are a very bright entity. Give them the opportunity of exploring things in a different way, in a newer way. That's his learning. So is based on driving question that encompasses every aspect of learning that will occur and establish the need to know. Is graded based on a clearly defined rubrics. Now, for example, when we have to assess the skills of a student that he has learned. This skill may be understanding about the camera, this skill may be learning about the focusing, and so on. We have to use a method known as rubric method. So rubric method will enable us to assess these things. Is open. Students make choices and determine the outcome and path of investigation. Could provide solutions in the real world to real problems, even though they may not be implemented. Use technology, tools and practices like this. So here is the computer programming also. So student is learning about computer program. He might have learned Java, but then the project says you learn about Python because there are certain AI constraints also. He learned about that. None of these was available to the student in the class, in the lecture. So for doing unstructured project, what are the student required? But a skilled student has need. He need problems understanding and solving skill. He has to learn this thing. He has not learned it. Creative and critical thinking, analytical and logical thinking, assessment and evaluation, execution and creation, learn, unlearn, learn. We call it a growth mindset. He is ready to learn new things. Collaboration and leadership skill, learning from failure. Please appreciate. In the project-based learning instruction method, learning from failure is a very important component. And learning from failure is a great quality and is very important for being entrepreneur in life. So unstructured will also give you these things. So you are doing traditional projects. Now, traditional projects can be done alone with little or no teacher guidance or team collaboration, are used year after year and usually focus on product that make a mobile or a calculator. Teacher work occur mainly after the project is complete. The student do not have much opportunity to make choices at any point in project, are based upon directions as per guidelines and are done like the previous years. This is how we are doing projects. Are often graded based on teacher perceptions that they may or may not be shared with the students. For example, neatness, effective, or close. Every project has the same goal. The end result is usually the same. Are not much of help in solving real world problems. Are based generally on tools which students know it. This is how we do it. So I'm giving you the example to emphasize where the different things come. Many times we confuse projects with project-based learning with doing the traditional projects. So here it is just a comparison. See, in traditional project, teacher has the knowledge. Teacher gives direction to students. Students follow directions. Students learn facts by following direction, and students present facts unit set. Example, we have like manuals, lab manuals. What are they? The student is given everything ready made. Even if they go to internship, depending on where it is, he is doing ready made. Now, in internship, if it's a problem which has not been done earlier, so doing problem in PBL report means teacher poses a question. Teacher may not have a knowledge. Students devise their own directions to solve the problem. They devise their own methods. Students set and revise their own directions. Student उसको revision करना है. If you want a new method, you want a different method, you want a more efficient method, student make a decision. Student learn information and develop skills. Students apply their knowledge and skill to solve real world problems. So please appreciate the difference between and don't carry the impression that we are already doing project-based learning. No. Let me give you another example. Real life project. For example, battery rickshaw. Take example for use in Leh or Ladakh. See, battery rickshaw that we use, let us say in the plains, let us say in Delhi or in Chennai, which are plain, it has a particular type of equipment, components. The same battery rickshaw is to be used during snow. The rotator may not work. The battery may require different specifications. Who will do that? That's another real life problem. Say water filtration system is another example. Supposing if you want to use water filtration system in Visakhapatnam, Visakhapatnam is on the seashore. Water is hard water. I want to prepare a filtration system which I was using in the planes may not work there. Now, student has to learn. What has to learn? Understand and applying the basic design process. How to change the design, how to change the functions of the component. Then he has to think, he has to plan, he has to then prepare a report. Then that's how he develops confidence. See, another very important thing is awareness of cultural, ethical, economical, and social needs. See, may not be in Ladakh, the people are poor, they may not use so expensive components. Then maybe one has to think it differently. So there are prerequisites for each of these projects, may be assigned in appropriate semester. So PBL expects that students will come up with a working model prototype of the real world application. That's what PBLA is. Please appreciate this thing. Now, some more examples. Automated cough counting system for coronavirus. You won't find anywhere else. Using image processing and RF technology, automated detection of cracks in bridges, solving problem of negative or fake news, and so on. See, these are the problems which constitute the complex problems and can be solved using the method, not one method. Project-based learning method means there could be a variety of techniques, variety of input, and so on. So PBLA is finding a lot of applicability, acceptance all over the world in all the professional courses. It's already there. Now they are introducing it in non-professional courses also. Because problems are not only for professional people, problems are for economists, problems are for historians, problems are for, let's say, Tamil teacher. So when I say project-based learning, here the teacher has to decide what should be the learning which he or she expects the students to acquire. I repeat, learning is knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. If you want the student should learn human values, then the project has to be project outcomes which are intended outcomes has to be decided beforehand. Achieving those intended learning outcome will constitute the project-based learning. So project-based learning, it's a design process. What is a design process? Design process is a series of steps that engineers follow to come up with a solution to problems. The open project involves preparing design, experimentation, making observation, recording data, interpreting data, analyzing data, and this process of doing projects, following the guideline mentioned above, enable the student to understand and implement design process. Understand design process. See, in design process, we have many things. Defining the problem, understanding the problem, doing what is already work done, then specifying what kind of outcome I want, then discussing it with the colleagues, then choosing the right solution, then developing the prototype, then testing the prototype, then assuring whether the solution meets the requirements or not, and then communicating results. All these things are to be learned by the student. That means PBLA enables the student to learn about design process. When he or she learn about design process, then is acquiring some skill, new skills. Those new skills is a learning of the process. And so on. Just a minute. Hello? Hello? So please see here, when a student is given the instruction based on the project base, keeping in view the learning that he is expected to acquire by doing the project, then in this process, what is he learning? He's learning the design. If he learns from one project, he can apply design to any other process. So PBLA encourages design-based learning, is an outline of the project, where project key goals, structure, methodology, criteria for success, outcome, etc. are planned and worked out. There may be one or more design which can be used to achieve the desired project goals. Now please see here, if we are to teach example in the classroom, then we may give one method, we may specify one design. Now when the student is doing by himself or herself, he will look at one design, but he has the encouragement, motivation to look at more designs also. The moment student learn about more designs, his skills goes up. Students can then choose the best design for use for actual execution of the project. The project design phase can generate a variety of different outputs, including sketches, flowchart, prototypes, etc. So this is a learning of the student while implementing project-based methodology. Then the student gets the overall picture of the system. See, when the student does a complete project, let us say he has to build a complete transformer, then he will know about the wiring, he will know about the voltage specifications, he will know about the equipment that is to be used. Otherwise, he cannot design a transformer. So, when we say the PBLA enables the student to think wholly of a system, it broadens his view. It broadens, he can see a big picture of the problem. So a any system is a collection of parts which are interrelated and interacting continuously to give or decide the structure behavior of that system. So when I say system thinking is holistic approach. When their concern is of knowing, understanding, and analyzing the constituent parts of the system as they behave, interact, interrelate, communicate in the whole system. But this learning he can acquire only in the PBLA method. Generally, systems are complex entities and individual skills are required to understand, analyze, and build. So PBLA involves understanding and designing the project, which in turn enables students exposed to system level thinking. So PBLA imbibes the system level thinking in the student. PBLA imbibes the design level thinking in the student. So not only this, PBL has become popular because it enables to enhance or imbibe higher thinking skills. Now, what is higher thinking skills? Now, the issue is what is higher order thinking? Why is higher order thinking important in our teaching learning? How do I incorporate them into my syllabus? How do I incorporate higher order thinking into my course overall and into my daily classes? How do I assess the development of higher thinking in my students? How do I decide that student learnings are improving? That means here comes the project that you have given to the student. You had intended learning outcome of that project. Now, when student is doing that project, doing that activities, you are keeping an eye also, monitoring it also to see what is the learning that you are expected. Now, you must have been introduced to the Bloom taxonomy. See, in Bloom taxonomy, the cognitive domain is divided into 6 levels: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. The students, our educational system has been emphasizing a lot on the lower three and partly some of the above, and not focusing as much as it should on higher order thinking skills. Now, PBL, now you design a project, give a project to the students where student has to analyze situations. You motivate him, motivate her, or he is able to compare, interpret, or he is able to come out with a product or with a prototype. That's where he is. We are making student to practice analysis, analytical skills, evaluating judgments, creating prototype, and so on. So by affording an opportunity to the student to think beyond remembering and simple thing doing applying, we are motivating a student to enhance his skills. Now, this is possible only when a student is working on a real life project for which there is no solution, for which the solutions are complex, for which the methods are not there. So, higher order thinking skills, thinking is on a level that is higher than just remembering facts or reproducing facts. That means PBLA is a very good approach, structure method, where we are motivating a student, where we are encouraging the student to think beyond, it's to think independently. So in PBLA, goal is to train students so that they move from lower to higher order thinking. Lower to higher order thinking means from knowledge to comprehension, then application, applying things, then and taking information and then understanding it, then evaluating it, and then creating a prototype. So PBLA enables the student to imbibe or to acquire these skills in such a way that he is able to produce a prototype. Now, let me tell you one thing. This is nothing new. It's already there in nature, has already given us these things. Some examples of higher order thinking skills are creativity and innovation, logical and critical thinking, analytical ability, problem solving, and so on. Now, brain, they are already there in our brain. Nature has given us these things. And brain is a muscle. Muscle can be developed. You go to the gym, develop your bodily muscle. To develop your brain muscles, to develop brain as a muscle so that it has either develops or incorporates or enhances critical thinking or problem solving or other attributes, we need to give them the proper kind of tools, proper kind of environment. And that proper kind of environment is provided by the complex real life projects. So research in neuroscience has established the brain is a muscle which can be developed. Function of the left and right brain are different, and these can be enhanced further with appropriate techniques. And PBLA, project-based learning, is a very important technique to enhance these skills. That's why we say, in order to develop or enhance the higher thinking skills of the students, working of the students on complex real life problems will do the necessary skills, and doing solving real life complex problem is our project based learning. So how PBL helps to foster higher order thinking of students? Now, what are the higher order thinking skills? Just on the right side, I've listed them. problem solvers, global aware, all those things. Now, they can be taught and imbibed by designing appropriate curriculum. Now, co-curricular extracurricular activity and instructional methods. So please appreciate, these are the skills which industry wants. These are employability skills. Those employability skills can be taught with the help of designing a proper curriculum, proper teaching instructional method, and PBLA is one of such instructional methods which helps to incorporate these things, as I explained to you earlier. Why should I emphasize on these things? Because if I have to create knowledge workers, then I must teach my students to create knowledge. Lower order learning discourages limited learner thinking. I want to enhance the thinking. PBLA puts the onus on the student to think more and more. Higher order learning multiplies comprehension and enhances low learner thinking. Lower order thinking encourages rote memorization, hardly any thinking, which multiplies misunderstanding and prejudice. Higher order learning stimulates and empowers students. So PBL focuses on high thinking, basic ideas and issues are taught in ways which actively engage student reflection and thought. What is the present scenario? Not only in our country, but in many countries in the world, indicate that teachers' knowledge about higher order thinking or their ability to improve student higher order thinking skills or be able to solve complex problem involving higher order skills is very low. Please take it in the right spirit. I'm also a teacher. This is not our fault. Traditionally, we have been following the method of textbook teaching. Then we do the projects, but the projects are done in the way that helps to enhance the learning of the students. So this gap can be filled by adopting PBLA. I know there are difficulties also. I share those with you also. So imbibing and enhancing higher order thinking skills in the class. Teach students about higher order thinking skills. How many students know what is the problem solving skill? How many students know what are the critical thinking skills? Because if you look at these things, you will appreciate that students are not, do not understand what is critical thinking. Students do not know what is problem solving skill. Teachers also do not know, most of the teachers do not know what are the attributes of entrepreneurial mind. What are the entrepreneurial of a critical thinker? Attributes. Now, this gap is there. Now, let me add here with all apology, this is not a fault of any student or a teacher. The traditional style of teaching has never emphasized these things. They were always emphasizing on knowledge, textbook knowledge. Now, with the changing scenario of the present day, which I mentioned in the beginning, that I did with a view to ignite your thinking where we are, why we are not able to do it. So now what we should do, teach students about higher order thinking skills. What are their attributes? What it entails, its benefits as well as strategies. Learners become aware of and understand their own strengths and challenges with regard to higher order thinking skills. Talk these to the students, discuss these with the students, and then say how to imbibe these, how these can be imbibed with the help of project-based processes. Higher order thinking skill is fostered in the classroom teaching itself by reorienting our instructional techniques. Please appreciate. Motivation. Do you think by having a lecture from the industry experts for 1 hour or 2 hour half-day workshop, students can be motivated? They become aware of these things. But in order to imbibe these qualities, students must be hammered continuously during their stay in the institution. How it can be done? That is our instructional method. PBLA is an instructional method which hammers the student to always try, to always focus, to always try to get newer things. So, project-based learning encourages growth and innovative mindset among students. Now, what is growth and innovative mindset? Project-based learning, growth and innovative mindset. Mindset is a mental attitude that determines how you will interpret and respond to situations. What is the mindset? This method of instructional, where I give an instruction, help the student to interpret things. Growth mindset refer to that with effort it's possible to increase intelligence levels, talents, and abilities. I have to prepare the mind of the student. I have to imbibe in the mind of the student that your intelligence, your capabilities, your talents can be enhanced, can be developed further. But he will ask how? What are the mechanisms? Now we need to make the student to believe, people with growth mindset believe that their abilities can be developed through commitment and hard work. Brain is a muscle which can be developed. Natural talent is just the starting point. Can learn and develop resilience. If I'm able to develop, imbibe this habit in the student, I'm helping the student to excel. And this can be done with the help of project-based project involvement, real life complex. Please remember, complex problem, not simple problems. Fixed mindset people with fixed mindset believe their basic abilities like intelligence or talent are simply fixed traits. Most of the students think that way. Spend their time highlighting their intelligence and talent instead of developing them. Believe that talent alone creates success without effort. Now, here is a category of students or people who think differently. When I involve the student in the project-based learning instructional method, then I explain to them what are the learning, because I have decided intended learning of the project. I explain to the student that by doing this project, we expect as a faculty member, you will learn, you will imbibe these qualities, you will imbibe these skills, you will imbibe this knowledge, and so on. That is learning outcome, project-based learning. So instilling growth mindset via PBLA, you apprise students about neuroscience and what is growth and fixed mindset. Apprise आपको करना है faculty को. You have to do it. Students, they come to us. We have to apprise them why PBLA is important. Expose them to challenging, realistic, real-life assignments. Praise the process. Praise students for the hard work and process being followed to achieve the success of doing the project. And encourage learning from failure. When students talk positively about making mistakes, students start to think of mistakes as a natural part of the learning process. Project-based learning, you learn from mistakes. Encourage higher level thinking, imbibing higher order thinking, foster growth mindset. Please remember, developing growth mindset in yourself and the student is a process that takes time. If those are things are, but the first thing is become familiar. You will become familiar when you decide what are the learning that you expect from a particular project. So PBLA foster entrepreneurial innovative mindset. Innovative mindset means growth mindset plus person taking initiative, then team working that helps you to develop entrepreneurial mindset. When a student goes and works on a project, complex real life project, and you tell him that this is how, this is, and the learning chart that you are prepared of that, it will motivate a student to learn these things. So, how to incorporate tenets of PBLA in traditional classroom? Now, please, is also very important. How to incorporate these things? Because as you mentioned earlier, we have been doing projects. Yes, you have been doing projects. Now, but how to incorporate what I have discussed with you, all these things? Connect concepts. Teach students to draw inferences. Encourage questioning. Teach problem solving strategies. Encourage creative thinking. Teach students to elaborate their answers. This they can do in the lab itself. This they can do in the seminar itself, provided we focus on those aspects. Now just give applying PBL in our context. Already projects are part of our professional courses, as I mentioned earlier. With appropriate adjustments, the projects can be redesigned or redefined to meet the essentials of project-based learning to help students to imbibe and improve higher order thinking skills. Please see this thing. Now you as a faculty member have to apply your mind how to transform the already doing project to achieve those some of the learning outcomes which are pre-decided or apply student about higher order thinking skills. Teachers themselves need to know about higher order thinking skills. Make clear to students the goal of the project and expected learning. Decide on the real life project. Involve willing students, especially in higher classes, third year and fourth year, through PBLA may be deployed at any stage. Though you can use this at any level, maybe at the first year, second year school, whatever it is. But only thing one has to look at the standard. A student must be apprised about the learning outcome, that is especially the higher thinking skill what one gets, in addition to merely syllabus and course requirements. अब ये simply saying कि ये तुम्हारे कोर्स में है इसलिए कर लो, ऐसा नहीं करिए. You give them, you apprise them about these things. Now, challenge is here is faculty need to reorient themselves in the use of PBL as an educational approach, maybe in specific subjects, availing available resources from traditional education, and incorporating web-based resources. Virtual lab, you can incorporate them if they are available. And now, Manisha, should I ask questions here or at the end? Yes, please.
या हेलो
यस प्लीज. नहीं अभी क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं या कि बाद में एंड में करेंगे?
सर एक्चुअली डॉक्टर ए बी गुप्ता सर इज नॉट देयर. Actually, I am attending the session in offline mode. I am here.
Okay. So
So
we'll continue.
yes, I think we should continue, and after the session, participant may ask the questions.
Okay, Arjun. Right.
Thank
Okay. Okay. Now, let me give you an example. How to implement PBL? I think maybe see after having done this, now you will appreciate. Now, when I want to apply it in the classroom itself, let me give you an example. My area is computer science and engineering. Here is a project based learning, you know, most of you are familiar with Fibonacci series program. Now, Fibonacci series can be used for engineering applications, including financial engineering, audio compression, and architectural engineering. Fibonacci sequence also there in the spiral of sunflower seeds and the shape of a stale shell. Now, I want to give you an example how the project that you are already doing can be modified on the pattern of product-based learning. I want the student to not only calculate Fibonacci series, I want the student to prepare a package, software package, and having the following characteristics. See, for example, program to generate Fibonacci numbers, then sequence using two variables, program to generate Fibonacci triangle, and so on. I have put 10 conditions here in the same program which student should do it. See, I have not given them anything. So this is example where a student has to work many of his of her own. For example, GCD and Fibonacci numbers is not given in the textbook. Here student has to search for that. Then when he prepares this package, then this package can be used to generate the picture of a dancing peacock. I've shown it here also. Which means I am asking the student to prepare the picture of a dancing peacock using Fibonacci series. Please see here. It's a product based. आपका यहाँ product based learning sir कैसे है? Product based learning is there because I have asked the student to find out all those modules which will be relevant for designing the picture of a dancing peacock. This may not be given in any book, textbook. Student have to search for it, then design it. So here is an example of doing it in the class. Now, then I also ask it should be user-friendly, prepare the documentation and flowcharts. It should be easily maintainable. Then we use structured programming approach, then test and record type of errors in each case of each attempt. Now, while preparing this package, student will be making mistakes. I'm making him to learn testing about testing also. Then a student will be writing the program which is not efficient. I'm motivating the student to find a method of how to write an efficient program. I'm asking the student to user-friendly, that preparing a interface, which is like that. Now, please see here, this is a project which is helping the student to learn many newer things which otherwise were not possible with a simple program like Fibonacci series or any other programs like that. So I can group the students, giving them different language. For example, student groups labeled ABCD use programming language C, Java, C++, C#, and so on. Now there are 12 algorithms to compute. Please see here. There are 12 algorithms to compute Fibonacci sequence. Each group will have two different algorithms. Design and implement multi-threaded parallel versions of each algorithm. Study which algorithm is the easiest to parallelize and which algorithm runs faster than. Write a report, design and a user guide of the project. Now, please see here the same project, same thing. This can be done maybe within 1 week, maybe 10 days, depending upon the level of the students, depending upon the class, and so on. Maybe he may have to learn new language also. So the idea I'm trying to emphasize is the same classroom projects, new experiments can be converted into project-based learning where it may be for 1 week, maybe 10 days, and so on. So generally, that is only a thumb rule. So in fact, a program a robot's movement to match the Fibonacci sequence of numbers. This is another one which you can do it. So how to implement? So here are some suggested steps for implementing PBL. Start with a central question, design a plan for the project, create a schedule, monitor students and the progress of the project, assess the outcome, evaluate experience. So teaching and enhancing higher thinking skill via PBL. Incorporate PBL in traditional classroom teaching, like say connecting concepts, teaching students, encouraging creative thinking. These are some of the things which can be you can adopt. See. So the point here is the project-based assessment. Follow the normal monitoring and assessment process like continuous monitoring, oral presentations, making logbook, project report, focus on the process followed by student to carry out the work. Now here, the assessment should be used with rubrics. The moment you bring in rubrics, it opens another very important direction of learning, which I will not go for, but it may be covered in your sessions. Achievement of project outcomes on completion of the project can serve as a good indicator of success of the PBL approach. So rubrics can help teachers to assess assignment consistently from student to student. I had mentioned, suppose if 5 students are doing it, or 3 students are doing a project, how do you assess it? In that case, rubrics help us to assess them. So rubrics for teachers assess assignments consistently from student to student, save time in grading, then clarify expectation and so on. So they help the students also understand expectation and component of an assignment in the PBLA, become more aware of their learning process and progress, improve through work and take feedback. So PBLA used with people will give us so many things. So teaching through PBLA helps to foster creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, perseverance, project management, curiosity, empowerment, in-depth understanding, and self-confidence. So kindly see that implementing project-based, using project-based learning. Example, you are already you are using projects, but reorient it so that students you are able to emphasize the learning which student is supposed to do it. Now, virtual labs is a very important sport for the PBL. You can use the virtual lab and design the project-based learning. Virtual lab is an interactive environment for creating and conducting simulated experiments, a kind of playground for experimentation for doing the PBL application. It consists of domain-dependent simulation programs, experimental units, called objects and encompass data file tools and that. That means mechanical engineering or civil engineering or environmental engineering or computer engineering. They will have similar programs which you can depend on by using project-based learning as a system. So because virtual laboratories allow students to conduct laboratory experiments anytime and anywhere, student can conduct tests as if they are in a real laboratory. Each student has his own virtual apparatus. These virtual laboratories can enhance learning and then interactions are coded in virtual laboratories and so on. So now these virtual laboratories are becoming common, though may not to the extent, but they are a very good support system. They provide support for implementing project-based learning method. Now, consideration for project selection. Please see here, when selecting the project, now see, there should be a real-world relevancy. It should have academic rigor. Now, depending upon which year is, first year, second year, school or what, applied learning, active exploration, expert relationships, assessment practices, and these are 5 or 6 ideas which I'm quickly going through because of the time constraints, which you can use to decide the project, how to select projects, where student learning is there. As I mentioned in the beginning, when I say learning are the expected learnings. So I select a project which is expected to meet those learning and so on. Then in the project-based learning helps to do many things. Master academic core content, think critically and solve complex problems, work in collaboration, communication, imbibe continuous learning, develop innovative and growth mindset. So PBLA is a very powerful approach for teaching a student a variety of skills. And if you are using the NBA program outcomes, then the mapping of a PBLA course will be maximum to program outcome. Now, how does this PBL approach transform the traditional approach? There is a project with no predetermined answer. There is an atmosphere that tolerates error and change. Students make decisions within a framework. Students design the process for reaching a solution. Students have a chance to reflect on the activities. Assessment takes place continuously. A final product results and is evaluated for quality. If I PABLA will enable us to reorient our traditional approach. See, now here there are challenges for the educators, for the teachers, because there are certain requirements. Taking the role of guide, because in PBLA, the teacher is a facilitator and a guide. As I mentioned while talking about the video conferencing project, taking the role of guide or facilitator is not the way that most educators were taught, nor even the way they were taught to teach. Direct instruction methods that rely on textbooks, lectures, and traditional assessment do not work well in the more open-ended, interdisciplinary world of project-based learning. Teachers need to be comfortable with wrong terms that students may make while doing the project. Please see here, mistakes होंगी, mistakes को understand करना होगा. Then you have to find out what is the learning of a mistake. Teacher may find themselves learning alongside their students as projects unfold. They are learning with students also. Challenge for teachers: recognize situations that make for good projects. Selecting good projects is a challenge. Structuring problems as learning opportunities. Collaborating with colleagues to develop interdisciplinary projects. For example, for doing an interdisciplinary project, there has to be collaboration between different experts with the different experience. Then managing the learning process, whether how much students are learning, how are they learning, integrate technologies with appropriate inputs, developing authentic assessments, realistic assessment. Indeed, teachers may have to be willing to take risks to overcome initial challenges. Now here, not only this, our traditional system course khatam karo, let us finish the syllabus. Let us say they're all time bound. Here there will be constraints. It will be flexible. A more supportive administration can help by implementing more flexible schedules and providing teachers with professional development opportunities. Teachers also need to be exposed to these newer ways of learning and doing things. Now, there are a lot of benefits. Enhanced professionalism and collaboration among colleagues, an opportunity to build relationship with students. Additionally, many teachers would like to find a model that accommodates diverse learners by introducing a wide range of learning opportunities into the classroom. You can have a variety of projects, variety of learnings in the classroom. Teachers find that students who benefit the most from project-based learning tend to be those for whom traditional instructional methods and approaches are not effective. देखिए, please appreciate this thing. The average students and below average students, they are very happy with this method of teaching learning because they have to do things by themselves. The challenges of implementation of PBLA is lack of time to collaborate with colleagues. You get any demands on, let us say there's one teacher from computer science, one from civil engineering, and from mechanical engineering, depending upon the type of the project. So the They may not have enough time, lack of time to collaborate with colleagues of different expertise, lack of access to technology, lack of resources. Students lack maturity to fully take part in PBL, lack of time to properly implement. These are the challenges. But please appreciate these challenges are being taken care of all over the world. In our system also, PBLA is being emphasized. So merits of PBLA method is active and cooperative learning, the ability to think critically and clinically, detail, simulate student to use skills of inquiry and critical thinking, peer teaching and peer evaluation. It increases ability to apply knowledge in clinical situations. It increases student responsibility for self-directed peer learning. Please, outcome-based education says the student must be encouraged to become autonomous. PBLA does that. Now, the demerits are this method takes a lot of time to plan and execute a single project. It's not possible to design different products for different topics, and it is also not possible to cover all the topics or content in a single project. For proper execution of a project, large number of financial sources are required. So there are limitations, no doubt, but people are still using it. So it's some guiding question for the educator. The inclusion of product in the syllabus of the course is not enough to claim that product base is in place. Please ascertain this thing. But need to ascertain how does the product relate to real life environments? Does the product allow student to carry through investigation? What kind of skills do students need to carry out this project? What new skills will the student imbibe? How much support do they need to do so? How much time do I have in class for student to work on the project? Does it fit into my course timetable? How will I assess the students? So please appreciate these are the constraints, these are the difficulties. Though but still it's being finding PBLA is finding wide applicability across all the disciplines across the world. PBL emphasis activity that are central to curriculum, long term, more interdisciplinary, having a driving question that is challenging and constructive, are student centered, are based on collaborative or cooperative group learning, are integrated with real world issues and practices, have productive outcomes. So the aim of all this is to ignite natural talents. In fact, if you want to win this in the 21st century, you have to empower others, and PBLA empowers, making sure other people are better than you, then you will be successful. So we empower students to think, learn, and excel via PBLA. So please appreciate these things. This is how it is going on. Now here are some references. There is a so thanks for your participation and kind attention.